Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Family and Support Services, I transmitted with an ordinance authorizing the extension of an agreement with the Cook County Workforce Partnership. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Workforce Development. Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of the Commissioner of Housing, the Commissioner of Planning and Development, and the Commissioner of Buildings, I transmitted with, together with Alderman Burnett, Haddon, Martin, Osterman, and Tunney, an ordinance amending various provisions of the municipal code regarding affordable dwelling units. Your favorable consideration of this ordinance will be appreciated. Very truly yours, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to a joint committee comprised of the members of the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards, and the members of the Committee on Housing and Real Estate. Ladies and gentlemen, I transmitted with appointments to the Board of Trustees of Community College District number 508. Your favorable consideration of these appointments will be appreciated. Very truly yours, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Education and Child Development. Ladies and gentlemen, I transmitted with appointments to various special service areas. Your favorable consideration of these appointments will be appreciated. Very truly yours, Lori E. Lightfoot, Mayor. Referred to the Committee on Economic, Capital, and Technology Development. The Honorable Anna N. Valencia, City Clerk, hereby informs the City Council that the following documents were filed in her office relating to the respective subjects designated as follows. An amended and reissued Department of Health Order number 2020-2 regarding duties of hospitals and other congregate facilities. Also, an amended and reissued Department of Health Order number 2020-3 regarding continuation of Governor Pritzker's stay-at-home order and public closures. And the Department of Health Order number 2020-4 standards and guidelines regarding medical data sharing requirements. Also placed on file was the Department of Health Order number 2020-6 regarding approved list and public awareness of COVID-19 testing facilities. And the Department of Health Order number 2020-7 regarding reporting requirements for short-term residential rental intermediaries. The Honorable Anna M. Valencia, City Clerk, also informs the City Council that all those matters which were considered by the City Council at the regular meeting held on February 19th, 2020, and which were
Peter,
required by...
could you go back? I like to refer those to rules, the previous ones.
The matters that were placed on file, Alderman?
Oh, not the ones on file. I thought,
Placed on file with us.
okay.
The Honorable Anna M. Valencia, City Clerk, hereby informs the City Council that all those matters which were considered by the City Council at the regular meeting held on February 19th, 2020, and which were required to be published in book or pamphlet form or in one or more newspapers were published in pamphlet form on March 18th, 2020 by being printed in full text in printed pamphlet copies of the Journal of the Proceedings. City Clerk Valencia also informs the City Council that all those matters which were considered by the City Council at the regular meeting held by a video conference on April 22nd, 2020, and which were required by statute to be published in book or pamphlet form or in one or more newspapers were published in pamphlet form on April 24th, 2020 by being printed in full text in printed pamphlet copies of the Journal of the Proceedings. The Honorable Anna M. Valencia, City Clerk, also transmits you with the following miscellaneous communications and reports requiring City Council action. A call for suspension of operations of General Iron Industries, Inc. during COVID-19 pandemic until Phase 5 framework for reopening Chicago is complete, which is referred to the Committee on Environmental Protection and Energy.
Rules.
Two committees called. The matter is referred to the Committee on Committees and Rules. Also, zoning reclassifications of particular areas, which are referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. And claims against the City of Chicago, which are referred to the Committee on Finance. And the Inspector General's nomination of Deborah Weitzberg as Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety, which is referred to the Committee on Public Safety. Your Honor, that concludes communications.
Thank you. Next is the committee reports. Any alderman wishing to speak on an item should use the teleconference raise hand function to be recognized. First up is the Committee on Finance, Chairman Wegesbach.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President and members, reporting for the City Council's Committee on Finance, which met on May 18, 2020. Our first item is an ordinance authorizing the issuance of up to $24 million in multifamily program bonds, the execution of a funding loan agreement, the issuance of tax increment financing tax credits, or TIF, and conveyance for the Emmett Streets Apartments located at 2602 to 2638 North Emmett Street. This item was approved by the committee by voice vote. If no one wishes to speak on the matter, I move to concur with the recommendation of the committee by roll call vote.
Mr. Clerk, please conduct a roll call.
Alderman Lisbada.
Aye.
Alderman Hopkins.
Aye.
Alderman Dowell.
Aye.
Alderman King.
Aye.
Alderman Hairston.
Aye.
Alderman Sawyer.
Aye.
Alderman Mitchell.
Aye.
Alderman Harris.
Aye.
Alderman Beal.
Yep.
Alderman Sidlowski Garza.
Aye.
Alderman Thompson.
Aye.
Alderman Cardenas.
Aye.
Alderman Quinn.
Aye.
Alderman Burke.
Aye.
Alderman Lopez.
Aye.
Alderman Coleman.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Curtis.
Aye.
Alderman O'Shea.
Aye.
Alderman Taylor.
Aye.
Alderman Brookins.
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez.
Aye.
Alderman Tavares.
Aye.
Alderman Scott.
Aye.
Alderman Cicho Lopez.
Aye.
Alderman Maldonado.
Aye.
Alderman Burnett.
Aye.
Alderman Irvin.
Aye.
Alderman Telefiero.
Aye.
Alderman Raboyes.
Aye.
Alderman Cardona.
Aye.
Alderman Wagispack.
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez.
Aye. Yay.
I'm sorry, Alderman, what did you want to vote?
11 o'clock.
Aye.
Alderman Austin. Alderman Ramirez Rosa.
Yeah.
Alderman Villegas.
Aye.
Alderman Mitz.
Aye.
Alderman Spizzato.
Yes.
Alderman Nugent.
Yes.
Alderman Vasquez.
Aye.
Alderman Napolitano.
Yes.
Alderman Riley.
Aye.
Alderman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Tunney.
Aye.
Alderman Gardner.
Aye.
Alderman Kappelman.
Aye.
Alderman Martin.
Aye.
Alderman Osterman.
Aye.
Alderman Haddon.
Aye.
Alderman Silverstein.
Aye.
Alderman Austin. Your Honor, we have 49 yeas, no nays.
Madam President?
Alderman Daley Thompson for the motion for reconsideration.
Yes, Madam President, I motion to reconsider the last vote.
All those in favor of reconsidering the last vote signify by saying aye. All those opposed say nay.
No.
The motion fails. Chairman Wagisback.
Thank you, Madam President. Item 2 is the appointment of Jessica Drost-Yagen as a member of the Chicago Community Catalyst Fund Board. Ms. Drost-Yagen spoke to the committee. The item was approved by the committee by voice vote. And if no one wishes to speak on the matter, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Just keep it on there.
Item 3 is an ordinance authorizing the city of Chicago to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District for certain renovations at Blackhawk Park, located at 2318 North Laverne Avenue. This item was approved by the committee by voice vote. And if no one wishes to speak on the matter, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item number 4 is an ordinance authorizing the city of Chicago to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District for certain renovations at Avondale Park, located at 3516 West School Street. This item was approved by the committee by voice vote, and if no one wishes to speak on the matter, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
emailed the resolution.
I'm sorry, is somebody asking to be heard on this matter? All right, hearing no objection, so ordered.
You could just jump into it.
Madam President, item number 5 is an ordinance authorizing the city of Chicago to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District for certain renovations at Clarendon Park, located at 4532 to 34 and 4538 North Clarendon Avenue in Alderman Kappelman's ward. The item was approved by the committee by voice vote. If no one wishes to speak on this matter, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
I believe that Alderman Kaplan would like to be heard on this matter. Alderman?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. This particular field house has over $10 million worth of code violations that needs to be desperately repaired. And it's in a census tract with a very high poverty with a fair amount of violence. So I am delighted that we can now go towards the path of getting this repaired. The neighborhood kids deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Chairman Wagasback, please renew your motion. You are on mute, sir.
Madam President, I again move for passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of this Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Thank you. Item number 6 is an ordinance authorizing the city of Chicago to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District for certain renovations at Chopin Park, located at 5400 West Cornelia Street and 5400 West Roscoe Street. This item was approved by the committee by voice vote, and if no one wishes to speak on the matter, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 7 is an ordinance authorizing the city of Chicago to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for certain redevelopment at Lyman A. Budlong Elementary School, located at 2701 West Foster Avenue. This item was also approved by the committee by voice vote. And if no one wishes to speak on the matter, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item number 8 is an ordinance authorizing the city of Chicago to enter into and execute a redevelopment agreement with Portage Park Capital LLC regarding property at 3611 to 3657 North Central Avenue. The item was approved by the committee by voice vote, and if no one wishes to speak on the matter, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 9 is an ordinance authorizing intent to issue $100 million in general obligation debt obligations by the city and appropriations connected therewith. The item was approved by the committee by voice vote. If no one wishes to speak on this matter, I move passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Madam President, item number 10 is regarding monthly settlements through the law department. These will be placed on file with the clerk. Items 11 and 12 consist of authorizations for the payment of various small claims against the city and denials of payment of various small claims against the city. If there is no objection, I ask that these items be placed on the omnibus.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 13, we have on items 13A through C. Item A is an order authorizing Corporation Counsel to enter into and execute a settlement in the case of Richard Hayes versus the City of Chicago and Sergeant Khalil Mohabban in the amount of $2.25 million. And Madam President, B is Artis Aquino versus the City of Chicago and Antonio Robinson in the amount of $750,000. And item 13C is Pierre Green versus City of Chicago in the amount of $300,000. Now for items 13A through C, I move for passage by the first most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider, with the exception that Alderman Dowell, Mitchell, Quinn, Lopez, Moore, Tabaris, Reboyras, Nugent, Spazzato, Napolitano, Riley, and Gardner wish to be recorded as voting no on item 13C. Does anyone else wish to be recorded as voting no?
Alderman Curtis.
Cardona, like to be recorded as no for 13C.
Alderman Curtis also.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the first one. Who was the first person?
Alderman Cardona, voting no for 13C.
All right,
Alderman Curtis, 13C.
okay.
Madam President,
Anyone
this is
else?
Alderman Lopez.
One moment, sir.
Thank you.
Are you voting, you've already voted no. I just want to make sure that we've got the no votes. I understand that you want to speak to this matter. Just a
Alderman
moment.
Beal votes no.
Okay,
I'd like a roll call on this matter. Be easier.
Well,
I don't think so. Mr. Clerk, there's been a request by Alderman Lopez to have a roll call vote. I think we have to do these, Chairman Wagasback, item by item.
so we have three separate items there: Hayes, Aquino, and Green. Alderman Lopez, or Madam President, are we calling roll call on each separate one then?
Alderman Lopez, a point of information. I understood your request to be for a roll call on item C, but please clarify.
Yes, Madam President, the request for roll call is for item C only. So Chairman Wag, I can proceed with A and B as normal.
Okay, so let's separate those out. My understanding is that we have a list of people who want to be recorded as no on C, but as to A and B, the motion is for the vote to be recorded as the first most favorable vote of the Committee on Finance and the unsuccessful vote on the motion for reconsideration.
That's my understanding, Madam President.
Hearing no objection as to A and B, so ordered. As to C, Alderman Lopez has sought a roll call vote. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Laspada,
Aye.
Alderman Hopkins,
Aye.
Alderman Dowell,
No.
Alderman King,
Aye.
Alderman Hairston,
Aye.
Alderman Sawyer,
Aye.
Alderman Mitchell.
No.
I'm sorry, Alderman Mitchell,
No.
Alderman Harris,
Aye.
Alderman Beal,
No.
Alderman Sedlowski Garza,
Aye.
Alderman Thompson,
Aye.
Alderman Cardenas.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Alderman Cardenas?
I said aye.
Thank you. Alderman Quinn,
No.
Alderman Burke,
Aye.
Alderman Lopez,
No.
Alderman Coleman,
Aye.
Alderman Moore,
No.
Alderman Curtis,
No.
Alderman O'Shea,
Aye.
Alderman Taylor,
Aye.
Alderman Brookins,
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez,
Aye.
Alderman Tabaris,
No.
Alderman Scott,
Aye.
Alderman Cicho Lopez,
Aye.
Alderman Maldonado, Alderman Maldonado,
I don't know what item this is. Let's see.
Alderman Burnett,
Aye.
Alderman
Maldonado is aye.
I'm sorry, Alderman.
Maldonado is aye.
Alderman Maldonado votes aye. Alderman Burnett,
Aye.
Alderman Irvin,
Aye.
Alderman Telefiero,
Aye.
Alderman Reboyras,
Oh.
Alderman Cardona,
No.
Alderman Wagaspack,
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez,
Aye.
Alderman Austin, Alderman Ramirez Rosa,
Aye.
Alderman Villegas,
Aye.
Alderman Mitz,
Aye.
Alderman Spizzato,
No.
Alderman Nugent,
No.
Alderman Vasquez,
Aye.
Alderman Napolitano,
No.
Alderman Riley,
No.
Alderman Smith,
Aye.
Alderman Tunney,
Aye.
Alderman Gardner,
No.
Alderman Kappelman,
Aye.
Alderman Martin. Alderman Martin,
Aye.
thank you. Alderman Osterman,
Aye.
Alderman Haddon,
Aye.
Alderman Silverstein,
No.
Your Honor, there are 33 yeas, 16 nays.
The motion passes. Chairman Wagasback.
Thank you, Madam President. One note before I end the committee report. Former Chairman Burke also pointed out on May 18th.
I apologize, Chairman. Let me go to
Yeah.
Alderman Daley Thompson on the motion for reconsideration.
Hi, yes, Madam President. Motion to
Mistake.
reconsider the vote. Next time I'll raise my hand. I'm sorry.
All right, no, that's, I should have called upon you. All those in favor of the motion for reconsideration signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
No.
The nays have it. The motion for reconsideration is denied. Now Chairman Wagasback.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to note before I end the committee report that former Chairman Burke also pointed out that May 18th was the 160th anniversary of President Lincoln's party nomination at the Wigwam around the corner at 191 North Wacker, a little history note. And with that, I conclude the report of the Committee on Finance for May 18th. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Chairman Wagasback. The Committee on Budget and Government Operations, Chairman Dow.
Yes, thank you, Madam President and members of the City Council. Reporting for your Committee on the Budget and Government Operations, which held a meeting on May 13th. The committee recommends passage of the following items. A substitute ordinance concerning an amendment to the annual appropriation ordinance year 2020 within Fund 925 for the Department of Public Health, Department of Family and Support Services, and the Chicago Police Department. Item number 2 was an ordinance introduced by Alderman Brendan Riley of the 42nd Ward, approving the transfer of funds within the City Council Legislative Reference Bureau for year 2020. And the third item on the agenda was the appointment of Kenneth Williams as Director of the Council Office of Financial Analysis, COFA, for a 4-year term effective immediately. I move passage of these items by the first favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance and the associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider. That concludes my report, Madam President.
Hearing no objections, so ordered. Thank you, Chairman Dow. The Committee on Aviation, Chairman O'Shea.
Thank you, Madam President. Reporting for the Committee on Aviation, for which a virtual meeting was held on Friday, May 15, 2020. The committee had one item under consideration. Ordinance 02020-2365, a provision of COVID-19 related relief for Chicago O'Hare International Airport and Midway International Airport concessionaires. This item passed unanimously by the committee members present. If there are no objections, Madam President, I move for passage of this item by the same roll call as item number 1 of the Committee on Finance and the same motion to reconsider if there are no objections. That concludes my report.
I believe that Alderman Irvin would like to be heard on this matter. Alderman?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the council. As it relates to the relief at the airport, I do not want to be confused that we do not believe that relief is necessary for airport concessionaires. I firmly believe that to be the case. However, the time that has been allotted for these agreements and the fact that these agreements did not come back to committee or council for approval is a challenge for me, and I would request to be recorded as voting no in that light. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? With the exception of Alderman Irvin, who wishes to be recorded as voting no on this matter, there are no other objections to the motion. Chairman O'Shea is approved. Thank you, Chairman. Next, Committee on Economic, Capital, and Technology Development, Chairman Villegas.
Madam President, members of the City Council, reporting for the Committee on Economic, Capital, and Technology Development, which held a meeting on May 12th, 2020. The committee recommends passage of the following. Items 1 through 12 are a series of appointments and reappointments to various special service areas. Carl D. Sullivan to SSA number 34, Uptown Commission. Jack B. Robalski, Mike DeMeo, Manuel Romero to SSA number 28, Six Corners Commission. Abdullah Hatsa to SSA number 3, Southwest Business Growth Area Commission. Jason R. Cross to SSA number 21, Lincoln Square Commission. Julia Perkins and Adrian Ermer to SSA number 42, 71st Street Stony Commission. Nicholas Anderson to SSA number 54, Sheridan Road Commission. Daniel B. Cornu and Saima Kosovic to SSA number 60, Albany Park Commission. Rick Perez to SSA number 25, Little Village Commission. Concerning item number 5, the appointment of Abdullah Hatsa to SSA number 3, let the record reflect that Alderman Burke will abstain from voting on this item. Within the preceding 12 months, Alderman Burke practiced law at a firm whose attorneys represented the Greater Southwest Development Corporation in property tax appeals before the Cook County Assessor, Cook County Board of Review, and Illinois Tax Appeal Board relating to various properties. I move passage of these items by the first favorable roll call vote of Committee on Finance, with the exception of Alderman Burke, who has abstained, and the associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Thank you, Chairman.
Item 13 is an ordinance in support of a Class 7B tax incentive for properties located at 3611 through 3657 North Central Avenue. I move passage of this item by the first favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance and associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 14 is a substitute resolution for a call for U.S. Congress to enact and fund National Water Affordability Program modeled after the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. I move passage of this item by the first favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance and the associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item 15 is a resolution, is a call for hearings to explore possible options for establishing free broadband internet for all households in the city of Chicago. At the request of Alderman Galdinas, this item has been tabled in the committee. Item 16 is an ordinance in support of a Class L tax incentive for properties at property located at 226 West Jackson Boulevard. I move passage of this item by the first favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance and associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Madam President, I'd like to make a statement regarding the activities that took place regarding the Class L tax incentive. And I want to thank my colleagues for bringing this item forward and discussing and advocating for minority and women business enterprise opportunities. Let this be a message to developers and contractors throughout the city of Chicago that when coming forward with projects that require city council approval, please keep in mind that 32 members of the city council are either Black or brown, and that we are demanding that on any project that there be a reflection of the city of Chicago, and we're not going to continue to be left on the sidelines. regardless of where this project takes place, regardless of how the funding for the project comes about, the fact that any developer or any contractor that seeks city council approval needs to take into account and consideration that there be some diversity and some parity when awarding some of these contracts.
Chairman Villegas, if I may, I appreciate you making that statement. I know the vast majority of your colleagues supported wholeheartedly, and I join you in indicating this must be a message that developers understand. It's not that the city of Chicago isn't open for business. It's that business has to include people from our neighborhoods, people who are members of the small business community. And of course, women and minority-owned businesses absolutely have to get a share in the economic success of our city. So thank you, Chairman, for making that statement. I believe that Alderman Irvin wishes to be heard on this matter. Alderman Irvin.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, I wanted to concur on the statement that both yourself and Chairman Villegas stated as it relates to goals of our city. Again, we must be included in order for all of us to move forward. It was once said, a rising tide should lift all boats, and we want to definitely be part of that conversation and partake in what's happening in our communities across the city, not just in the neighborhoods that we represent, but we are one city working together. And thank you for your support, and thank you, Chairman, for your support in the matter.
Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chairman Villegas. The Committee on Housing and Real Estate, Chairman Osterman.
I'm here. Thank you, Madam President, members of City Council, reporting for your Committee on Housing and Real Estate, which held a committee meeting on Tuesday, May 12th. The committee has a series of reports recommending passage of the following. Item number 1 is the establishment of the emergency relief for affordable multifamily properties within the Department of Housing to provide short-term financial assistance. I move passage of this ordinance by the first favorable roll call of the Committee on Finance. An associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider, with the exception of Alderman Raymond Lopez, who wishes to be recorded as a no. If there's no objection.
Okay. I believe that Alderman Lopez wishes to speak on this matter. Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I do wish to be recorded as being a no on this item. I am not against efforts to help people stay in their homes. What I am against is what seems to be a $3 million bailout to developers when money could be spent better getting it directly into the hands of the tenants who need it most. Two of the prime examples of the beneficiaries of this program in the last 6 months have received $15 million and as of today, $24 million in TIF subsidies for their efforts to provide affordable housing. On top of that, we are now providing them with rent guarantees if their tenants are unable to pay, under the guise that we are in this together. And I think that our efforts should be at helping the actual tenant with rent relief, direct rental relief and cash in their hands so that they can decide how to maintain their family's integrity during these difficult times. We are already on the hook as a city with our partners, and I don't think that giving them even more money after we've given them millions is the right way to go. And I look forward to the opportunity to work with you and my chairman to find out how we can do that moving forward. Because if we have $45 million to spend in TIF money in total, as we have both in the TRP projects of January, the Bigger Deck project today, and the other millions of dollars we spent in TIF on other projects, I'm certain we can find a way to put those TIF dollars into the hands of renters who need it most. Thank you, Madam President.
No, we can't do that. Chairman Osterman, I believe you have a pending motion.
So I'll renew the motion, the passage of this ordinance by the first favorable roll call of the Committee on Finance and associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider, with the exception of Alderman Lopez, if there's no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item number 2 is an ordinance for the provision of a multifamily program funds loan to the South Soleil Center Preservation Association Limited Partnership for acquisition and rehabilitation of building at 3039 East 91st Street for renovation of 110 senior units in the 10th Ward. I move passage of this ordinance with the first favorable roll call of the Committee on Finance and associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item number 3 is the ordinance accepting the bid for David A. Beck for purchase of a vacant property at 13311 South Burley on behalf of the Chicago Board of Education. This property is in the 10th Ward. I move for passage of this item by the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chairman Osterman. Committee on License and Consumer Protection, Chairman Mitz.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm reporting for the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. We held a virtual meeting on May 7, 2020 to consider the following ordinance. 02020-2179, amending fees for violations of outdoor patio regulation in the 2nd Ward. Item number 02020-2236 was an ordinance calling for a 90-day signature collection period for new or additional shared housing units for duration of Mayoral Executive Order 2020-10 by Alderman Quinn. Ordinance number 02020-2210 to prohibit the advertising, listing, rental, or booking of vacational rentals within restricted residential zones in the 13th Ward. And final item number 02020-2139 regarding hours of operation for outdoor patio in the Central Business District in the 42nd Ward. Item number 6, prohibiting impelling in portions of the 42nd Ward. 02020-2273, providing for agreements, implementing centralized dispatching systems of wheelchair accessible taxi cabs. Mayor Lightfoot and the Commissioner of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. A direct introduction of a proposed ordinance conferring COVID-19 departmental authorization. Mayor Lightfoot and the Commissioner of Business and Consumer Affairs. These recommendations were concurred in by a voice vote. We had 4 ordinances regarding moratorium in various wards, which was the 27th and the 38th Ward. These recommendations were concurred in by a voice vote of the members of the License Committee on May 7, 2020. Madam President, I move that the City Council concur in the recommendation of the License Committee by the same roll call as item number 1 of the Committee on Finance and the same unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
That concludes my report for the City Council, Madam President.
Thank you, Chairman Mitz. Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety, Chairman Burnett.
Thank you, Madam President. Reporting for your Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety, for which a virtual meeting was held on Thursday, May 14, 2020. Before the committee, there were 96 items. There were 83 routine traffic items that passed and 13 routine traffic items that did not pass. If there's no objections, I move for the passage of these ordinances in the omnibus. That concludes my report. Thank you, Madam President.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Thank you, Chairman Burnett. Committee on Transportation and Public Way, Chairman Brookins.
Thank you, Madam President. Reporting for your Committee on Transportation and Public Way, a meeting of which was held on May 14, 2020. The following ordinances were passed by a majority of the members present. Items on pages 2 through 26 include 309 ordinances for grants of privileges introduced by the local aldermen from wards 1 through 3, 8, 10, 11, 14, 15, 17, 19, 22, 23, 27, 28, 30, 32, 35, 36, 38, 39, 41 through 46, and 48 through 50. Under Rule 14 of the Rules of Order and Procedures of City of Chicago Council, Alderman Burke abstains from voting on the following items: grants of privileges 02020-2301 and 02020-2297 located in the second ward. On items on page 27 include 17 ordinances for canopies introduced by local aldermen from wards 1, 2, 8, 27, 28, 36, 42, and 43. Under Rule 14 of the Rules of Order and Procedures of Chicago City Council, Alderman Burke abstains from voting on the following item: canopy 02020-2302 located in the second ward. Items on pages 29 through 31 include one amendment and 24 ordinances for miscellaneous items introduced by local aldermen from wards 1, 3, 11, 17, 19, 27 through 29, 32, 39, 43, 44, 46, and 47. Page 32 includes a re-subdivision ordinance located in the 11th ward. Page 33 includes one release ordinance and one easement ordinance located in the 27th and 42nd wards. Under Rule 14 of the Rules of Procedure of the City of Chicago Council, Alderman Burnett abstains from voting on the following item: release of covenant 02020-819 located in the 27th ward. And under Rule 14 of the Rules of Order and Procedure of Chicago City Council, Alderman Burke abstains from voting on the following item: easement 02020-1916 located in the 42nd ward. I will note that Alderman Burnett has abstained in that a relative has worked for the company seeking redress. And with respect to Alderman Burke, the Rule 14 was noted as he or a member of his law firm has represented a party seeking redress within the past 12 months. Except for those matters in which the aldermen have abstained under Rule 14, and if there are no objections, I move passage of these items by the last most favorable roll call vote of the Committee on Finance and the associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider. You're muted.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Your Honor, with that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Committee on Workforce Development, Chairman Sadlowski Garza.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the City Council. Reporting for your Committee on Workforce Development, which held a virtual meeting on May 11th, 2020. There were 3 items on the agenda. First, 2020-2343, amendment of a municipal code 1-24-0110, prohibiting employer retaliation for covered employees complying with public health orders. Substitute ordinance 2020-2343 was introduced and accepted by the committee. SO 2020-2343 was passed by majority voice vote with Alderman Raymond Lopez voting nay. Hearing no objection, I move for the first most favorable vote on the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
There are 2 of your colleagues who wish to speak on one of these matters. Let's go to Alderman Moore.
Madam President, my apologies. I was, because I thought she was going to do all 3 together. I want to focus on number 3, so I take my hand down till we get to number 3.
Okay. Alderman Tunney.
Unmute me.
Good morning, Madam Mayor. I would like to talk about the Fair Work Week ordinance. Is this the right time?
No. Next one.
My turn, thanks.
Okay. You have a pending motion. Hearing no objection, so ordered. Please proceed, Chairman Garza.
Thank you, Madam President. Second, a direct introduction, 2020-2370, a proposed ordinance to amend the Chicago Fair Workweek ordinance. Item was passed unanimously by voice vote. Hearing no objection, I move for the first most favorable vote on the committee on the finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider. I believe this is the one that Chairman Tunney would like to speak to.
Chairman Tunney.
Thank you, Mayor and my colleagues. I spoke out on this direct introduction at committee, and I'll reiterate my concerns. We are at an unprecedented time of business interruption, loss of employment. Nearly a quarter of the workforce is currently unemployed. And I would bet that would be a higher number among our hourly workers, which do reflect a large percentage of African and Hispanic workers. We know that the hospitality and entertainment sectors have been decimated and really will be one of the last industries to return to work. My colleagues also should remember that as of July 1st, we will be increasing the wages basically from 13 to 14. I know there's an exception for some of our smaller employers. And we're raising, I think, almost 30% the wage of tip credit. Compounding the wage and the regulations for fair scheduling, while I know you and I and our members have worked on this ordinance and the compromise delaying the private right of action until January 1, it was my effort, and it continues to be my effort, to move a complete delay until January 1 on both the wages and the fair scheduling ordinance. I know that's not going to happen, but I wanted to put my voice of concern and to let my colleagues know that they remain accountable to the businesses in their ward and the workers. I mean, it's not just about the owners. We heard on the call this morning that employers are just as vulnerable in this pandemic as the workers. There are approximately 50% of the businesses in the nation, and for that matter in Chicago, that are literally not open. And to introduce these regulations and wage increases at this time is the wrong time. And I wanted to just as most of my colleagues know, they understand where my heart is in regards to the fact that 95% of employers are trying to do the right thing. Most of them were not eligible for PPP. Who knows what's going to happen before the year end. I've also heard reports that the unemployment rate possibly is going up to 15%, and that the forecast of very long contraction of GDP, and potentially even in 2021, the unemployment rate will still be close to 10%. And I just worry that this is really going to set Chicago employers and workers back, the people that we really want to help the most. And I just wanted to voice my concern for that and to be recorded as a no on that particular item about fair scheduling. So that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Tunney. Third, item R 2020-284 calls for House Speaker Michael Madigan, Senate President Don Harmon, and members of the Illinois General Assembly to place SJRCA 23 Workers' Rights Amendment on the November 3rd, 2020 Illinois general election ballot. Item was
Chairman
passed.
Garza?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
I apologize for interrupting. There's two issues. Alderman Moore, did you wish to speak on the preceding item on fair
Number two.
scheduling?
Yes, number 3, yes.
Madam Chairman, Madam President, Alderman Michelle Smith, I wanted to be recorded as a no on the Fair Workweek changes.
All right, thank you, Alderman Smith.
Thank you.
Alderman Garza.
Alderman Hopkins recorded as a no on ordinance 2370 also. Thank you.
Alderman Riley as well, Mayor.
Okay, so Alderman, Chairman Garza, I think we need to move to approve item 3 first, item 2 first, and then we can move on to item 3.
Mayor, before you do item 2, I'm sorry, Mayor, and I'm sorry for the confusion. If you can call on me, please.
Go ahead, Alderman Moore.
I was going to say, because unfortunately, with everything that's going on, and sometimes it seems like we're missing something. Sometimes we get these briefings. I'm not even fully understanding what the amendment is on the Fair Workweek ordinance, and I don't want to debate it here since it was probably debated in committee. And sometimes doing the right thing may not, we may not be doing the right thing. And I want to hear more about this because I don't want to be recorded as a yes or no without me fully understanding. So I'm asking if we can defer and publish this item.
Alderman Moore, there's plenty of opportunity to understand this matter, and deferring and publishing, I think, is highly problematic. I would ask you to reconsider that, and maybe Alderman Garza can give us a short summary of what this matter is on.
I'll take
Sure.
that.
Would you agree to that?
I'll take that reconsideration with a short summary. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Moore. If we're speaking to the Fair Workweek ordinance, July 1st is the implementation date for the Fair Workweek ordinance. We actually passed a substitute ordinance to delay the private right of action, which means that people during scheduling, they will not be able to sue their employer for unfair scheduling practices, because COVID has actually put us in a position where we cannot predict scheduling. So it wouldn't be fair for an employee, an employer to be held accountable. So that private right of action won't take effect until January 1st.
Mayor, thank you for that clarification. And with that, then I'm in support. Yes.
Okay. I believe that Alderman Lopez is asking to be heard. Please
Thank
proceed.
you, Madam.
Alderman.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to clarify that this doesn't prevent the city from still taking action. It only stops private lawsuits from moving forward.
That's correct.
That is correct.
Thank you, Madam President.
Chairman Garza, would you renew your motion?
Yes, secondly. So the item was passed out of committee unanimously by voice vote. So hearing no objection, I move for the first most favorable vote on the Committee on Finance and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider with Alderman Riley, Smith, Hopkins, and Tunney voting no.
Alderman Beal, are you wishing to be recorded as a no vote?
Yes, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. So with that, those caveats and the no votes, hearing no further objection, the motion is granted.
Okay, thank you. Third, item R 2020-284 calls for House Speaker Michael Madigan, Senate President Don Harmon, and members of the Illinois General Assembly to place SJRCA 23, the Workers' Rights Amendment, on the November 3rd, 2020 Illinois general election ballot. The item was passed unanimously by voice vote. Hearing no objection, I move for the first most favorable vote on the Committee on Finance report and the corresponding unsuccessful motion to reconsider. Alderman Moore, did you want to speak to this?
Yes. I'll wait for the mayor to call on me.
Yeah, Alderman Moore, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. After speaking to some of my representatives in my state senators, there was some concern and some confusion about this ordinance. As we all support workers' rights, the whole issue, from my understanding, was around as a work-to-right state that we cannot have other companies that would come in, you say, in my community and just build and not have non-union workers. We have some companies, a couple of companies, small African-American companies, who are not all union workers. And if they coming to build in our communities and make it better, and whether they're paying $30 an hour, where a lot of people are not making $30 and $35 an hour, until we get the fair representation that we just so fought hard to get from the ordinance that was just recently passed out of Economic Committee, it's challenging for me to support this. And based on what I'm hearing, some of my representatives, my colleagues, my reps, my senators say, everybody downstate is not on this. So I can't force them and saying something if they're not fully in support of it. So although I wanted to firm publish this, I won't, Mayor, so I just vote no.
So just to be clear, Alderman, I want to make sure that we're all clear. This is a resolution. It's not an ordinance. And the action would have to be taken by the Illinois General Assembly. There's no action that can be taken by this body other than saying yay or nay as to the resolution. But in terms of mandating this into law, that's something that power is reserved to the state. Alderman Quinn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm standing today in solidarity with labor at a time when they need us most. I'm in strong support of the collective bargaining rights of our union brothers and sisters, the very people who are on the front lines today, sacrificing their own health and safety to protect others. Other states, including many here in the Midwest, continue to attack union workers and so-called right-to-work laws. Many of those proposals have failed, and none of them have the best interest of union workers in mind. It's time, after many years of playing defense against these job-killing laws, that we go on the offense here in Illinois. I ask that we adopt this resolution to take that next important step to enshrine the rights of our union brothers and sisters and officially enshrine their collectively bargained rights in our state's constitution. Thank you. I ask for a roll call vote on this.
Well said.
Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. Mr. Clerk, please proceed.
Alderman LaSpada.
Aye.
Alderman Hopkins.
Aye.
Alderman Dowell.
Aye.
Alderman King.
Aye.
Alderman Hairston.
Aye.
Alderman Sawyer.
Aye.
Alderman Mitchell.
Aye.
Alderman Harris.
Aye.
Alderman Beal.
Aye.
Alderman Sadlowski Garza.
Absolutely aye.
Alderman Thompson.
Aye.
Alderman Cardenas.
Aye.
Alderman Quinn.
Aye.
Alderman Burke.
Aye.
Alderman Lopez.
Aye.
Alderman Coleman.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
No.
Alderman Curtis.
Aye.
Alderman
Riley
O'Shea.
has to make a
Aye.
statement regarding
Alderman
this
Taylor.
vote in his
Aye.
presentation.
Alderman Brookins.
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez.
Aye.
Alderman Tavares.
Aye.
Alderman Scott.
Aye.
Alderman Cicho Lopez.
Aye.
Alderman Maldonado.
Aye.
Alderman Burnett.
Aye.
Alderman Irvin.
Aye.
Alderman Talafiero.
Aye.
Alderman Raboyes.
Aye.
Alderman Cardona.
Aye.
Alderman Wagispack. Alderman Wagispack.
Aye. Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez.
Aye.
Alderman Austin. Alderman Ramirez Rosa.
Alderman Villegas.
Aye.
Ramirez Rosa votes aye.
Alderman Ramirez Rosa votes aye. Alderman Villegas.
Aye.
Alderman Mitz. Alderman Mitz.
Aye.
Alderman Spizzato.
Yes.
The language is
Alderman
weak.
Nugent.
Yes.
Alderman Vasquez.
But we need the mayor
Alderman Vasquez.
Aye.
make this a priority.
Alderman Napolitano.
Aye.
Alderman Riley.
Pat Dow, please mute. Absolutely.
Alderman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Tunney.
Aye.
Alderman Gardner.
Aye.
Alderman Kappelman.
Aye.
Alderman Martin.
Aye.
Alderman Osterman. Aye. Alderman Haddon.
Aye.
Alderman Silverstein.
Aye.
Alderman Austin. Your Honor, there are 48 ayes, 1 nay.
Madam President, Alderman Thompson,
Yes, Alderman Thompson.
I motion to reconsider the vote.
All those in favor of the motion for reconsideration signify by saying aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
The motion for reconsideration fails. I want to commend the members of the City Council for your overwhelming support of this important resolution. I join you in opposing any efforts to prevent men and women who are on the front lines working hard to be denied their right to organize. And as long as I'm mayor, I can assure you I will oppose any efforts to bring right to work to this city. Thank you. I also just want to remind aldermen that when you are not voting or speaking, please continue to have your phones on mute. We are starting to hear a little background noise and conversation. All right. Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Tunney.
Thank you, Mayor and Madam President, and members of the City Council. Presenting a series of reports for your Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, Building Standards, for which held a meeting on March 16th of 2020. The following item was passed by a majority of the members present. Page 1 contains the document number 02020-743, the historical landmark designation for the Chicago and Northwestern Railway Office Building located at 226 West Jackson. I hereby move passage of this item by the last most favorable roll call vote of the Finance Committee report and associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
Madam President and members of the City Council, presenting a series of reports for your Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards, which held a meeting on May 19th, 2020. These reports are grouped for convenience. The following items were passed by a majority of the members present. Pages 1 through 6 contain various map amendments in the 1st, 4th, 11th, 15th, 24th, 25th, 27th, 28th, 30th, 36th, 38th, 40th wards. I move passage of these items by the last most favorable roll call vote of the Finance Committee report and the associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
Page 6 contains document number 02020-94 for the address commonly known as 421 through 451 North Michigan Avenue, 137 through 209 East Illinois, and 458 through 478 North City Front Plaza Drive, also known as the Tribune Tower development. I move passage by this item by the same motion. I also understand the sponsoring alderman, or not the sponsoring alderman, but the alderman where the Tribune Tower is, Alderman Brenda Riley, I think wants to be heard on this item.
Alderman Riley.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to speak to my colleagues because this is an incredibly impactful project for the city of Chicago. And I think it requires a bit of context and explanation to understand how we've gotten to this point after 2 years plus of negotiating across the table from the developer. The proposed Tribune Tower plan development is an ambitious one, repurposing an iconic Chicago landmark, the historic Tribune Tower, while adding the second tallest skyscraper in the city of Chicago to our world-renowned skyline. The applicant is currently renovating the existing Chicago landmark under simple building permits, which will deliver 162 for-sale condominium units in the historic structure. The applicant is proposing to construct a 1,442-foot tall mixed-use building, including retail and commercial uses, along with 200 hotel keys and 564 dwelling units. The overall planned development will have 726 dwelling units between the two buildings, as well as 687 parking stalls and 14 loading berths. To be clear, this is a very ambitious plan and one that has the potential to transform this important stretch of Michigan Avenue. Ambitious plans like this can also impact local infrastructure, traffic flow, loading patterns, and open space. As alderman, it's my responsibility to identify areas of concern and work with city planners and transportation officials to negotiate improvements and public benefits to mitigate issues, offset density, and enhance the surrounding neighborhood. Thanks to our robust and thorough public process, we had no shortage of opinions and feedback from the neighbors. Following meetings with SOAR, the Neighborhood Association of Record, and other local stakeholders, we condensed all of those concerns down into a simple punch list of infrastructure and design changes that the developer would be required to make. I co-hosted 2 community meetings where the developer shared their plans with the surrounding neighborhood. The first meeting was held April 2018, and after extended negotiations, the second meeting occurred in November of 2019. These public meetings were so well attended that the ballroom at the Sheraton was filled to capacity at each. Nearly 1,000 of my constituents attended each of these public meetings. So to say that this was publicly vetted would be an understatement. Thanks to all of that valuable feedback, many important changes were made to the tower's design. The developer better integrated the parking base into the skin of the building, and the landscape and open space plans were completely redesigned, adding far more active green space and mature trees to Pioneer Court than exists today, and far more than was originally proposed by this developer. In addition to addressing architectural and open space concerns, we conducted a granular review of traffic and loading studies with CDOT. That resulted in the developer being required to make major revisions to their traffic and loading plans. We negotiated many important design and infrastructure changes to improve traffic flow, loading, and public safety on both the upper and lower levels of Michigan Avenue, Illinois Street, and City Front Plaza. All of those will be entirely funded by the developer. I'll give you just a couple of examples of what is a 2-page list of obligations. But one is that on Lower Michigan and Lower Illinois Street, which is subterranean, you'll see the addition of new vehicular and pedestrian entries, 2 24/7 manned security offices with lines of sight through the perimeter of the building, pickup and drop-off areas to accommodate all rideshare and passenger vehicles and commercial loading, enhanced lighting and refreshed infrastructure with clean and refinished wall surfaces to improve the pedestrian experience on the lower levels. And this revised plan will keep all of the most intense loading and traffic below grade, which will dramatically improve the aesthetic and safety of this lower level. On upper level Illinois, we have required the developer to construct an internal building cut through from Illinois to City Front Plaza for hotel guest drop off, taking all of that traffic and loading off of the curbs and into the internal base of the building. We'll also have restricted curbside parking regulations and the removal of a disruptive and dangerous traffic circle on City Front Plaza. The list goes on, but I do want to emphasize that in addition to all these local infrastructure improvements and public benefits, it also is going to provide a great benefit to the broader city of Chicago as a whole. It'll be making a $13 million contribution to the Affordable Housing Fund. it will be making a $15 million contribution to the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. And it should not be lost on anyone, moving forward, once delivered, this project will pay $25 million a year in property taxes, one of the larger tax bills you see in the city of Chicago. At a time when Chicago needs some good news for its local economy, I'm happy to report that this project will boost economic development by creating thousands of construction job hours for the men and women of the building trades and more than 400 permanent full-time jobs on site once the project is completed. Despite all of this good news, there were legitimate concerns raised about the lack of minority participation requirements for this planned development, as well as concerns about the lack of diversity and minority participation on the current as of right landmark renovation project that's already underway. In response to those very legitimate concerns, we are requiring the developer to commit to a 26/6 MBE-WB participation in the overall project, meaning that between the two towers and the PD, the overall job distribution must be at 26/6. That obligation has been memorialized in the plan development statements, and upon approval will become law binding. Further, we require the developer to affirm its commitment to meet the goals of 26/6 in writing, and also promise that they will not seek any waivers or in lieu of penalties to excuse those MBE-WBE obligations. The developer is committed to ensure contractors on this project will reflect the racial diversity of the city of Chicago. And to that end, the developer has agreed to retain a diversity consultant to work on this project. Furthermore, the developer has agreed to meet with the Black and Latino caucuses at their request to talk about diversity on the site and minority hiring practices moving forward. We will also be requesting regular updates on their progress in minority hiring for this project. I would like to read that commitment, the written commitment, into the record now. Tribune Tower East, Chicago owner LLC, as a joint venture between affiliates of the CIM Group and the Golub & Company LLC, agree that with respect to the Tribune Tower project, which is the subject of a planned development application pending before the Chicago City Council on May 20, 2020, that with respect to this project, it is their commitment to achieving the goal to utilize 26% of qualified and certified minority business enterprises and 6% of women-owned business enterprises on this project. Further, the applicant will not seek waivers from goals if there are qualified certified MBE contractors or qualified and certified WBE contractors. The applicant also states that the contractors on this project will reflect the diversity of the city of Chicago. The applicant also commits to hiring a diversity consultant to work on this project. This was a long and difficult negotiation. In fact, it's lasted closer to 2.5 years. But I think it's one that has resulted in a far superior project, not just for the surrounding neighborhood, but for the city as a whole. I think the developer agrees. I'd like to thank SOAR, neighborhood residents, local stakeholders for all of their local feedback and suggestions throughout this process. I'd like to thank the Department of Planning and Development, the Department of Transportation. Their senior staff were instrumental in helping us to secure these important improvements and commitments. And I'm very appreciative of their counsel and support. I would also like to thank my colleagues on the zoning committee and in the Black and Latino caucuses for rightfully so advocating for a more diverse work site on such a impactful project for the city of Chicago. And so for all of the reasons I've just mentioned, I would respectfully request a favorable vote from my colleagues for this project. But I think this shows that on grand scale projects, this one almost $700 million in budget, we can move the needle on minority hiring and the diversity of these work sites. And those do not need to be victories only relegated to the neighborhoods. We should see more of these victories in downtown Chicago and on the north side of Chicago. And I'm committed to working with my colleagues in the Black and Latino caucus to make sure that happens. So thank you all. I would encourage and I vote.
The chair recognizes Alderman Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd first like to thank Alderman Riley for one, bringing this project to fruition, but two, working with the caucuses to make sure that there is diversity on the site. I'd also be remiss to not thank Chairman Jason Urban and Alderman Greg Mitchell for their leadership, not just in this project, but in terms of the project that went through Chairman Villegas' committee, making sure that there is diversity on the site. And again, I'd like to thank you, Mayor, for your commitment to making sure that there is diversity throughout the city of Chicago. And I will be voting aye on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. The chair recognizes Alderman Irvin.
Thank you, Madam President. Also, I wanted to echo the statements of Alderman Scott and also thank Alderman Riley for his help and diligence in this process, and also you, Madam President, for your leadership in this as well. We want to continue for our city to grow. However, we want our city to, all of us to grow with our city. So again, we appreciate the work that's being done and the commitments that have been made. And we just believe that this should just be how things are done, where we recognize the diversity of our great city and continue to move forward in such a way that everyone benefits from the largesse in all of our city. So again, as I said previously, the rising tide happening in downtown should lift us all from all of our communities across our city. So again, thank you. And we also will be, I also will be supporting this measure. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Alderman Hopkins.
Thank you, Madam President. I too rise in support of this project, and I want to congratulate Alderman Riley for his stewardship of what was a very lengthy and detailed process. Alderman Riley mentioned the neighborhood organization SOAR. I once had the privilege of leading that organization in the years before I became alderman, and I can tell you they can be a tough group. They're independent, they're experienced, they're thoughtful, and they're demanding. All of us deal with residents associations, and that tends to be true across the city. And not only did the residents of Alderman Riley's ward endorse this project, they endorsed the process. They would not have supported this project despite the many benefits if they felt that there were flaws or defects in the over 2-year process that led us to this point. So that's a tribute to Alderman Riley and his staff, that they're able to take a building of this height and density and overcome the normal NIMBY types of objections that we always hear. You can imagine what those were like with a project of this scale. So that's a tribute to you, Alderman Riley, and all your hard work on this. This is a benefit to Michigan Avenue. This is a benefit to the city of Chicago. And as Alderman Riley mentioned, it bears repeating. $13 million will be generated for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, $15 million for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, and eventually when the project comes online, $25 million in property tax revenue for a city that certainly needs the revenue. So congratulations, Alderman Riley, on a job well done.
The chair recognizes Alderman Dow.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I wanted to also congratulate my colleague, Alderman Riley, for bringing what looks like another architecturally significant building to our city. I also want to thank him for his flexibility and willingness to address to make the project even better by addressing the minority participation on both the construction side and the job side. I want to thank the mayor for her support on this project. You know, we live in a diverse city, as you always say, Madam President, and every development that comes before our body for approval of some sort needs to reflect the diversity of our city. And I thank you for your leadership on this, and also Alderman Riley. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Dow. The chair recognizes Alderman Cicho Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see it also in the zoning committee, and the project obviously has our approval. My concern obviously is on the follow-up of many projects and how local hiring has historically and systematically excluded people of color. Today, I am very concerned, of course, on the situation of our Latino community. In significant numbers are getting sick and obviously are not receiving any relief. So I want to urge Alderman Riley and all of our colleagues to be extremely mindful during these times about the importance of providing fair, equitable development to our community. Our communities in the South and the West Side are starving, are suffering, and I do hope that this is not another pledge that is not followed, but a commitment to make sure our communities actually receive the jobs that we badly need during these times. So I will obviously hope that Alderman Riley follows up, and with our chairman Maldonado, we can have a conversation not only about this development, but a lot of the mega developments that are happening so that we can truly help our communities during these difficult times. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Alderman Sposato.
Thank you, Madam President. Just one question. I know this is not a committee meeting. Is there any city requirements that city residents have jobs? Because as we know, most of these construction sites, they're loaded with suburban stickers or plates. I'm sorry, stickers or out-of-state plates. So just a quick question. I like I said, I know this is not a committee meeting, but what's our standard for city residents? I'm hearing everybody worried about city residents. Is there any city resident requirement?
Perhaps either Chairman Tunney or Alderman Riley can address this issue. Obviously, we do have residency requirements in certain projects. It's unknown to me whether or not those apply with respect to this particular project that is, as I understand it, 100% privately funded.
So, Madam President, I believe Alderman Riley has said that there are no public funds in this project. I believe with that element that there is no residency requirement on this project, but I will yield to Alderman Riley on this. I think I'm right on it.
Alderman Riley?
Thank you, Madam President. Alderman Tunney is correct. This project is not receiving any public subsidy. It's 100% privately funded. In fact, they're providing a $29 million payment to the city of Chicago. That said, we made a lot of progress on building in important minority hiring and diversity requirements. I have no doubt that we can secure a good commitment out of this developer that the bulk of the jobs will be for Chicago residents. And I know that in subsequent meetings, the Black and Latino caucuses will impress that upon the developer as well. Because the goal here is not to necessarily increase employment opportunities for peoples of color generally. It's really intended to benefit Chicago residents. And so we can follow up on that for sure. Believe me, this is not the end of the conversation with the developer. But these are also developers that do a lot of work in Chicago and will continue to do that for decades. And so to my colleague, Alderman Siccho Lopez, point taken, but these folks are not a fly-by-night operation, and we have a long memory here. So we know that their commitment that they've given to us today and memorialized, they will be held to fulfilling that commitment. And I assure you, Mayor Lightfoot will have that with a Post-it note on her computer screen as well. This is not something that will be forgotten. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman.
The chair recognizes Alderman Maldonado.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm equally concerned. I'm equally concerned as Alderman Siccho Lopez expressed about the commitment of these developers, that they say one thing and then once they implement and start working on those projects, they forget about the initial commitments that they made to us, people of color, and of the city council, and to our community in general. Contrary to what Alderman Riley expressed, I have not received any call. I have not had any conversation with any one of those developers as the chair of the Latino caucus for the city of Chicago. So if this is one example, the way that they are going to be planning to be communicating and executing their commitment to us, I already have my first red flag. So with that, I will be voting no on this item.
Madam President, Alderman Riley.
Yes, Alderman Riley, please proceed.
If I could just respond to the concern Alderman Maldonado just raised. I'm not suggesting that they've been in conference with Latino caucus. To be clear, the majority of this conversation has been driven by Black caucus leadership. However, Alderman Villegas has been intrinsically involved in these conversations with myself, the administration, and the Black caucus. And I think it's accepted that if this is good for the Black caucus, it should be good for the Latino caucus, and there needs to be a dialogue. And so the idea of having these regular meetings after passage, of course, it's up to you as the chairman of the Latino caucus, Alderman. But I wanted you to know that they will make themselves available to you and your caucus members to walk through your concerns and address them in real time. There is in no way that, look, my reputation is also tied to this project. I think my track record here with my colleagues is that I keep my commitments. I think my track record with developers downtown is that we make them keep theirs as well. And so, besides being able to vouch for this and tell you it has been thoroughly vetted, not just by me, but by the mayor and her staff and our colleagues, this will happen. And I give you my word on that. So I hear where you're coming from, Chairman Maldonado, but I hope you can place some trust in me on this one.
The chair recognizes Alderman Laspada.
Thank you, Chair. Alderman Riley, definitely a beautiful building. I think it's an admirable addition to our skyline. I have nothing but applause for the public process. I can only imagine the stress that went into that. I'm curious, you were talking about the contribution that they made to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And while we know we need to keep the trust fund moving forward, do you have a sense of why they chose not to do units on site? I know that that's been a challenge for us of late, particularly as we try to think critically about the cost of segregation. How do we affirmatively further fair housing in areas where affordability is tough to add? Do you have a sense of why they went in the direction they did?
If I may, Alderman, when you have questions of this sort, you should be asking them through the chair. So Alderman Tunney, I believe that Alderman Laspada intended to ask a question of you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In regards to my colleague, Alderman Laspada, this was talked at length during the zoning committee. I know you're not a member of it, but I will defer to Alderman Riley. But my understanding is the development team has complied legally with all the requirements. There has been some comment about whether the affordable needs to be on site or to replenish the almost extinct housing affordable funds, according to Commissioner Navarro. So we need both. And I'm not, I know a number of our colleagues say, hey, the amount of money that it's generated in these downtown projects is essential. And the fact that in some of these buildings, the combination of the cost of living, as I think one of my colleagues says, they can't even, these residents won't be able to buy water in the commissary in the building. We've got to be practical sometimes. And I know that we're challenging the housing commissioner to really try to help us move to the next level of affordability and requirements and where our units are especially placed. And I can't speak for, I'll let Alderman Riley add to that commentary.
Alderman Riley.
Thank you, Madam President. What was also mentioned in committee was that there will be some units provided on site, but there is a large contribution being made because of the financing of the deal. Of course, we want to see on-site units delivered. But as Alderman Tunney, or Chairman Tunney mentions, there's a couple of wards in the city that traditionally have funded the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. This is the primary driver of that. And I know as a policy goal for this administration and for all of us as a city council, we want to see more on-site units delivered. But the unique financing for this project is such that they have to do a large in lieu payment instead.
I appreciate the response. And again, I will double check the rules because I did not mean to ask an inappropriate question. I think it's, as we were talking about the interests of diversity within the city and applauding my colleagues for recognizing the diversity of the city, it's impossible to divorce housing needs from diversity interests. Thank you, Chair.
The chair recognizes Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in support of this project. I supported it in zoning and I support it today. I think, Alderman Riley's done a wonderful job fighting for his community to make sure that they are fairly represented, but he hasn't lost the fact that this is impactful for the entire city. I do want to caution my colleagues who are standing up today, worrying about communities that they did not bring up yesterday in zoning. If I remember correctly, I think I was the only one who brought up ensuring that all minority communities were allowed to participate in zoning. There's always been ample opportunity to speak up and ensure that our communities have a seat at the table. It's whether or not we decide to pull the chair out and join people that is usually the problem. I believe that not only this project, but as we did the project earlier today for Emmett, and as we continue to do projects where the city is putting money forward, the same conversation we're having today about a 100% privately funded venture should be applied to the conversations that we have on ventures where we are putting taxpayer dollars forward, ensuring that those are also incorporating residents from every community. We didn't have that discussion earlier today. We had zero discussion on that matter when it came to the $24 million bond issue for affordable housing a few hours ago. But now we're going to have a multi-level conversation about a $700 million, 100% privately funded venture in the city. At best, that's hypocritical. At worst, that is a complete missed opportunity by everyone who's worrying about communities that need resources, jobs, and contracts, as our good friend Mr. Blakemore would say. So I ask everyone who's concerned about what's going on here to keep that enthusiasm and fire going for every project that we put our dollars and resources behind, and stand today and say yes to this and yes to all the ones coming down in the future. Thank you, Madam President.
The chair recognizes Alderman Villegas.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a project that, as a member of the Plan Commission, we had some serious discussions regarding the lack of participation. And although it's privately funded, this is something that at the time, Chairman Sawyer at the Black Caucus and myself worked on, trying to get goals on privately funded projects. And at the time, we had suggested that the goal should be 66%, given the fact that the city of Chicago had a makeup of approximately a third. And I remember a reporter asking me, well, that's insane. I said, well, they started at 0. So I figured we could meet somewhere in the middle. And as a result of that, an executive order was put forward that required at least 30% minority participation. And so, again, another message to the developers throughout the city of Chicago, we want you to build here. But what we're also asking is that you be mindful and have a workforce and construction firms, engineering firms, architectural firms, a team made up that's reflective of the city of Chicago. And so I will be working with some of my colleagues from the Black Caucus and the Latino Caucus, Chairman Maldonado, as well as Chairman Irvin, and other members of the caucuses to try to put forward an ordinance of some sort that deals and codifies this, so that way we're not having to go through this on every time a mega project comes forward. And so regardless of whether it's 100% funded or there's some type of incentive, the developers and the contractors need to understand that this is a very diverse city, and the contracting world, the contractors as well as the workforce need to be reflective. There needs to be parity and diversity. We can't find ourselves being pitted against one another. The African-American community and the Latino community. There's enough room for all of us. And so I look forward to working with both of my colleagues in the prospective caucuses to put forward some language that talks about that. So that way there's some equity in contracting and in workforce. And so I want to congratulate Alderman Riley for this tremendous project. It's going to change the skyline one more time. And he's been working on this for over 2 years with a lot of incentives and a lot of benefits for the city of Chicago. So I want to congratulate him for his hard work, as well as his willingness to negotiate and put forward opportunities for communities that are outside of the central business district. And so for that reason, I'll be supporting this project, and I urge my colleagues to support this too. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Alderman Kappelman.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to make 2 points. One is about the MBE and WBE contracting. I wholeheartedly believe it needs to be increased, but I agree with Alderman Villegas. We need to create ordinances that do that. I don't want us to make up rules as we go along. There should be a consistent enforcement of MBE and WBE requirements across the board. That's number one. Number two, as a part of the affordable housing piece, I have affordable housing that's part of our developments, and what many of the residents in my ward, once they find out that there's an affordable housing piece, they're delighted and they apply, and they quickly find out that they don't qualify because you have to earn 60% of the area median income. And many of my residents earn 30% or less. So I applaud Alderman Riley in his this development. It's going to contribute a lot more low-income housing trust fund rental subsidies for people in my ward who desperately need it, but would never in a million years qualify for on-site affordable housing that has them earning 60% when they earn 15 to 30%. Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam President.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Alderman Sadlowski Garza.
Thank you, Madam President. Chairman Tunney, I was just wondering if you could speak to, I definitely am in support of this project. I'd just like to know, do you know if there's a PLA on this? Is the project labor agreement has been negotiated with the building trades?
Chairman Garza, I'm going to ask Alderman Riley to respond to that.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Alderman Riley.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, there will be a PLA governing this site, and this will be a building trades built project, as all large-scale development projects in my ward are. That is an absolute expectation in the central business district.
Thank you, Alderman Riley, and congratulations.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Alderman Coleman.
Thank you, Madam President. I think that it's just great as one of the new aldermen and to witness this in committee under Chairman Villegas' leadership, and to just echo what Chairman Irvin, what Alderman Scott has said, and shout out to Alderman Mitchell for bringing this to our attention, and to just make it very clear that this won't just be about minorities and diversity having construction jobs, that we will be looking forward to pre and post construction opportunities for this historic project. Congratulations to you, Alderman Rowley. I look forward to one day mimicking something like that in the 16th Ward.
Thank you, Alderman Coleman. I'll take a point of pride here. Alderman Riley mentioned my name, and I will tell you most definitively, one, thanks for the hard work of Alderman Dow, Alderman Mitchell, and Alderman Villegas, and Alderman Riley's work over 2 years, but particularly more recently in making sure that the developer would publicly affirm their commitment to MBE, WBE work on this project. And since you use my name, I will say, as you know, I personally became involved with this matter very recently, and I'm grateful for the hard work that you did in making sure that the commitments that we all hold dear are reflected in this project. And I can also say to the members for whom maybe this project is something new, that our eyes will be on this project. The commitment will be met, or there will be significant consequences. But I am confident, given the stewardship of Alderman Riley and the focus of members of the Economic Development and Zoning Committee, that we will make true and good on the commitments that this developer has made. So thank you. So Alderman Tunney, I think there's a pending motion.
Madam President, I renew my motion, a passage of this item by the same motion if there's no objection, with the record of Alderman Maldonado voting no.
Hearing no other objection, so ordered.
Madam President, point of order.
Who's speaking, please?
Alderman Hopkins on a point of order.
Yes, Alderman.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I didn't want to interrupt the proceedings or the debate, but I do just want to state as a matter of record that we do have a council protocol which prohibits the city council from turning into a question and answer session as a committee hearing would. And we seem to push that just a little bit during the previous debate. I just want to point out that that is a slippery slope. And I would hope we would all be cognizant of that going forward, that the time for question and answers is the zoning committee in this case, and that we would all be cognizant that council is reserved for statements and roll call votes. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Chairman Tunney.
Continuing on, pages 6 through 8 contain various map amendments in the 42nd, 43rd, 44th, 47th, 48th, and 50th wards. I move passage of these items by the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Page 8 contains the historical landmark designation for the Blackwell Israel Samuel AME Zion Church building located at 3956 South Langley Avenue. I move passage of this item by the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Page 8 contains the historical landmark designation for near North Side Multiple Property District at various portions of North Dearborn Street, East Erie Street, West Grand Street or Grand Avenue, East Huron Street, West Ontario Street, North Rush Street, North State Street, and East Superior Street. I move passage of this item by the same motion if there's no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Page 8 and 9 contains various large signs over 100 square feet in area, 24 feet above grade in the 2nd, 3rd, 11th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 27th, 32nd, 34th, 41st, 42nd, and 47th wards. I move passage of these items by the same motion if there is no objection.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Madam President, that concludes my report. I do want to congratulate Alderman Riley on the Tribune project, and I know that he will be the steward for all the interests of the city and its residents and all the promises that these developers are making to our city. Thank you. Thank you, Alderman Riley.
Thank you, Chairman Tunney. Before we move on to further business, I want to take a moment here. May 20th will always have particular significance for many of us. For some, myself included, we swore an oath for the first time that bestowed upon us both a great honor and important obligations. For others, you renewed your solemn vow to serve the public. So whether veteran or new to elected office, we've been on a journey together that began 1 year ago today, standing before all of Chicago, and now 1 year later finds us today in the middle of a challenge of a lifetime. All of us were brought together by our city's voters, our families, our residents, our communities, and business owners who were desperate for change in the way our beloved city was run, in the way we conducted business, and above all, in how the lines of opportunity investment were drawn. That mandate was and is our mission, representing a new day for our city. One which saw us taking a new direction towards a horizon as more transparent, inclusive, fair, and prosperous for all communities, not just for the fortunate few. And with due respect to the point of order, this is exactly the kind of debate and discussion that is important for us to have. Our first moment together represented a promise we made to our fellow Chicagoans, and I am tremendously proud of the accomplishments that had followed from all of us over this past year. Through historic ethics and good governance reforms, historic structural reforms, budget solutions, and unprecedented investments in our communities, who for way too long, in some instances generations, have been left out and left behind. And it's because of our shared partnership and collaboration over this past year that our city government is more fair than it's ever been, more transparent, more efficient, more inclusive than ever. To the veteran aldermen, I say this: I very much appreciate all of your hard work, your wise counsel, even when we disagree, and your daily commitment to meeting the needs of your residents and your service to this city that we all love. Thank you. And I ask our new aldermen to share some of their personal highlights. And what they said was as varied and diverse as they all are. For Alderman Rodriguez, his highlight was helping craft and support the Fair Work Week and strengthening the Welcome City Ordinance. For Alderman Martin, it was passing the climate change emergency declaration. Alderman Haddon cited our work in securing and stabilizing our eroding lakefront and increasing support to keep our shoreline protected. And that work is ongoing and more to come. Alderman Cicho Lopez looked to our efforts to stop predatory practices against homeowners, as well as creating the Community Advisory Council to ensure input from ordinary residents on the 78 development. Alderman Gardner spoke about the compromise struck with developers at a senior living facility to bring more, specifically 11 affordable housing units to a site which previously had none, and the creation of Gardner's Angels, ward residents who are the guardians of seniors in his ward. For Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez, this year's special mark were the actions taken to support community-driven zoning and development and the Know Your Rights canvassing we did and continue to do to protect our immigrant and refugee communities. For Alderman Taylor, it was expanding transparency in her ward. Alderman Nugent noted it was bringing in new business and securing more green space and more police in her ward and for infrastructure. For Alderman Vasquez, it was co-sponsoring the LGBTQ+ business resolution, along with introducing an array of programs in the 40th Ward. Alderman LaSpada spoke to putting together a great team, and our teams don't get the recognition that they deserve. So thank you, Alderman, for acknowledging that. But also Alderman LaSpada spoke to incorporating his community in zoning, development, and infrastructure matters. Alderman Cardona, a very hardworking man, cited his work in supporting the residents of the Cicero and George apartments and celebrating the 50th anniversary of developing Aspirantes. And for Alderman Coleman, it was completing tens of thousands of service requests, supporting local businesses, and organizing, ready for it, the first ever Inglewood Town Hall with all 5 aldermen representing the community participating at once. Well done. Throughout this year, we knew the importance of what we were doing and the critical work, a role this work would play in our journey ahead. But none of us could have realized just how important it would be. What began 1 year ago as a journey of transformation itself was transformed in just a matter of weeks, taking the form of an unprecedented crisis and a fight for the literal survival of thousands of our fellow residents. This stage of our journey together has left us physically apart to keep our residents safe amidst widespread job loss, hunger, and uncertainty about our future. But it's because of the gains that we made to raise more voices and truly lift our communities that we have as a city and as a governing body been able to face this moment with strength and conviction. For all of its changes and challenges, the story of our year together has been one story of our shared singular mission to create a city where everyone has a place and no one feels alone or left behind. And that mission must continue in our years before us. The only difference now is that our mission has become more urgent, and the mandate which brought us here is shining more brightly than ever, lighting our path and giving us renewed strength for our work ahead, to build on the gains we've made and write a new chapter to our city's history of resilience and rebirth, not unlike what we have gone through before. My hope is that generations from now, Chicagoans can look back on this moment with gratitude for today's Chicagoans who sees this moment as a once-in-a-generation opportunity it is to recover, rebuild, remake ourselves as a broad-shouldered, global, welcoming city we all know it can be. Our journey together has been incredible, but it really, truly has just begun. Now, it would be natural in this time for us to reflect on what we have lost. As individuals and collectively, the list is long. Lives have been lost and shattered. Employment, fortunes, and futures seem to have disappeared in an instant. And we have not just lost our mobility, we've lost our sense of security. And you know this, and we were reminded here today during public comment, our neighbors, the people we serve, are hurting. And in this time, it is incumbent upon us to find common ground for the good of us all. But another part of our narrative during this time is what we have gained. We have been physically apart, but I think our sense of community shines through this often dark time. Over and over again, our neighbors have stepped up, reached out, and offered daily demonstrations of the true definition of public service. My hope is that in our work going forward as elected officials, that we continue to follow their example of putting city over self. Thank you, and God bless you. The chair recognizes Alderman Sposato.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to say congratulations to you and all my first-term colleagues. This job is just a one-of-a-kind job, help capable. So just want to congratulate everybody on their one-year anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. And now we'll move to the agreed calendar. Matters on the agreed calendar, Alderman Harris.
Thank you, Madam President, and congratulations on your first year as the leader of the great city of Chicago. And to all my new colleagues, I hope it's been a fabulous ride for you. Stay buckled in and tune in for the next ride on this roller coaster. I've received from the city clerk, Anna Valencia, a total of 56 items proposed for the agreed calendar, consisting of congratulatory, commemorative, tributary resolutions from the following aldermen: Alderman Hopkins, Alderman Garza, Alderman Thompson, Alderman Quinn, Alderman Burke, Alderman Lopez, Alderman O'Shea, Alderman Ramirez Rosa, Alderman Gardner, and Alderman Kappelman. Thank you, Madam President.
Do you move for passage of the agreed calendar in the
I
omnibus?
move for passage of the agreed calendar in the omnibus.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. New business. The clerk will call the wards beginning with the 50th.
Claims, free permits, license fee exemptions, which are referred to the Committee on Finance. Zoning amendments, which are referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Traffic regulations, traffic control signals, and traffic signs, which are referred to the Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety. Grants of privilege on and over the public way, which are referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. an exemption from physical barrier requirements for commercial driveway alley access for parking facilities, which are referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Silverstein has a proposed ordinance for amendment of municipal code, section 4-60-023, to allow additional package goods licenses on portions of North Lincoln Avenue, which is referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman Gardner has a proposed order for the issuance of permits for signboards at 5211 West Lawrence Avenue, which is referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Smith has a proposed ordinance to call for 90-day signature collection period for restricted cannabis zones to be tolled for duration of the Illinois Executive Order 2020-10 or applicable order, and requiring the city clerk to notify petitioners of such tolling, and date and time signatures must be obtained once the order expires, which is referred to Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Smith also has a proposed ordinance for the call for the Zoning Board of Appeals to defer approval of special use applications for cannabis business establishments where notice of intent to initiate petition process to establish restricted cannabis zones was filed with city clerk, which is referred to Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Riley has a proposed order for the issuance of permits for signboards at 71 East Wacker Drive, which is referred to Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Vasquez has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Chapter 2-160, by adding a new Section 2-160-025 concerning self-identification of gender identity on city documentation, which is referred to Committee on Health and Human Relations. Alderman Vasquez also has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Chapter 8-32, to further regulate use of mechanical equipment or tools operated by fuel or electric power in buildings, construction, repair, or demolition operations, which is referred to Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Vasquez also has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Section 10-20-150, to further regulate permit requirements for emergency openings, construction, and repair work on public way, which is referred to Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Vasquez and others have a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Chapter 2-8, by adding a new Section 2-8-015 to require City Council to hold regular meetings on second and fourth Wednesday of every month for duration of declared disaster, which is referred to the Committee on Committees and Rules. Alderman Villegas has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Titles 9 and 2 regarding commercial towing, which is referred to the Committee on Finance. Alderman Villegas also has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Section 8-4-059 regarding prohibition of possession of scanners, which is referred to the Committee on Finance. Alderman Wagaspack has a proposed order for the issuance of permits for signboards at 2366 North Damon Avenue, which is referred to Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Alderman Burnett has a proposed ordinance for release of restrictive use covenant regarding vacation of portion of West Carroll Avenue between North Sangamon Street and North Peoria Street, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Burnett also has a proposed ordinance for release of restrictive use covenant regarding vacation of portions of West Carroll Avenue and North Sangamon Street within the area bounded by North Morgan Street, West Kinsey Street, North Peoria Street, and West Wayman Street, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Maldonado has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Section 4-60-022 and 4-60-023 to disallow additional alcoholic liquor and packaged goods licenses on portion of North California Avenue, which is referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman Rodriguez has a proposed resolution to call for hearings to establish framework and criteria for revoking tax incentives in accordance with the Cook County Tax Incentive Ordinance, which is referred to the Committee on Economic, Capital, and Technology Development. Alderman O'Shea has a proposed ordinance to call for the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection to refund license fees for period attested to by businesses that did not operate for 30 or more days as a result of COVID-19 pandemic emergency executive order number 2020-1, which is referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman Quinn has a proposed ordinance for designation of the 13th precinct of the 13th ward as a restricted cannabis zone, prohibiting home cultivation and new or additional cultivation centers, craft growers and processing, infusers, dispensing, and transporting organizations.
Hey, Cal.
Which are referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman Thompson has a proposed ordinance for vacation of public ways in the area bounded by West Pershing Road, South Halsted Street, West 38th Street, and South Emerald Avenue, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Sedlowski Garza has a proposed resolution to call on the Illinois General Assembly to pass and Governor J.B. Pritzker to sign into law House Bill 5545, which amends Cannabis Regulations and Tax Act by including additional testing to verify ownership interest of companies alleged by social equity applicants, which is referred to the Committee on Workforce Development. Alderman Hopkins has a proposed ordinance for amendment of Municipal Code, Chapter 4-384, to prohibit retail sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits, which is referred to the Committee on Health and Human Relations. Alderman Hopkins also has a proposed ordinance to call for a 90-day signature collection period for restricted cannabis zones to be tolled for duration of Illinois Executive Order 2020-10 or applicable order, and requiring city clerk to notify petitioners of such tolling, which is referred to the Committee on License and Consumer Protection. Alderman Hopkins also has a proposed ordinance for opening of the public ways in the area bounded by East Pearson Street, North Mies Van der Rohe Way, and East Chicago Avenue, which is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Public Way. Alderman Laspada has a proposed resolution to call for expansion of Drive Clean Chicago program to further develop clean energy fleets to meet manufacturing, land use planning, and environmentally sustainable goals, which is referred to the Committee on Environmental Protection and Energy. Alderman Laspada also has a proposed order for the issuance of permits for signboards, which are referred to the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Your Honor, that completes the order of business for aldermanic introductions.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll now move on to approval of the journal. Alderman Mitchell for
Madam
approval of the
President,
journal.
I'm not aware of any corrections to the journal and move that it be approved.
Hearing no objections, so ordered. Will the aldermen please make sure that their microphones are unmuted? All those in favor of approving the journal signify by saying aye.
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 If opposed, say no. The motion is carried. Unfinished business, Alderman Mitchell.
Madam President, I'm not aware of any unfinished business.
Miscellaneous business, Alderman Mitchell.
I'm not aware of any miscellaneous business.
The date and time of the next meeting.
I provided an ordinance to the clerk setting the date and time of the next meeting of the City Council for Wednesday, June 17, 2020 at 10 a.m.
Mr. Clerk, please read the ordinance.
Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Chicago, Section 1, in accordance with Illinois Executive Order 2020-7, the next regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Chicago shall be conducted by video conference on Wednesday, the 17th day of June, 2020, beginning at 10 o'clock a.m., and shall provide for remote participation and remote viewing by members of the public. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage.
Alderman Beal, do you wish to speak to this matter?
Yes, Madam President, I was just curious, with the state reconvening in Springfield, would our next meeting be in person or would it be another virtual meeting?
The restriction on people gathering in 50 or more still has not been lifted. So it's certainly possible that we may be gathering together in person, but we need to follow the lead of the stay-at-home order, which currently does not allow for us to gather in groups of 50 or more. But if that changes, we'll certainly notify members of the City Council and make the necessary preparations.
Thank you.
Alderman Irving.
Not to this matter, but after this passes.
All right. Alderman Mitchell, do you move for passage
in the omnibus?
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Alderman Irvin.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to take a point of privilege so that we do not forget our colleague, Alderman Carrie Austin, our chairman, who's at home recuperating. Did not know that she had been hospitalized, but just let's keep her in our prayers and reach out to her and just let her know that we are thinking about her.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Mitz.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just want to point to send a congratulation out to our 2020 graduates, since we won't have another meeting before their graduation. I thought it would be appropriate as the city council that we recognize all of the class of 2020.
Thank you, Alderman Mitz. Roll call on the omnibus. Will the aldermen please make sure that their microphones are unmuted? And thank you. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman LaSpada.
Aye.
Alderman Hopkins.
Aye.
Alderman Dowell.
Aye.
Alderman King.
Aye.
Alderman Hairston.
Aye.
Alderman Sawyer.
Aye.
Alderman Mitchell.
Aye.
Alderman Harris.
Aye.
Alderman Beal.
Yep.
Alderman Sedlowski Garza.
Yep.
Alderman Thompson.
Aye.
Alderman Cardenas.
Aye.
Alderman Quinn.
Aye.
Alderman Burke. Alderman Lopez.
Aye.
Alderman Coleman.
Aye.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Curtis.
Aye.
Alderman O'Shea. Alderman O'Shea. Alderman Taylor.
Aye.
Alderman Brookins. Alderman Brookins.
Aye. Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez.
Aye.
Alderman Tabarez.
Aye.
Alderman Scott.
Aye.
Alderman Cicho Lopez.
Aye.
Maldonado.
Aye.
Alderman Burnett.
Aye. Aye.
Alderman Irvin.
Aye.
Alderman Tilafiero.
Aye.
Alderman Raboyes.
Aye.
Alderman Cardona.
Aye.
Alderman Wagispack.
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez.
Aye.
Alderman Austin. Alderman Ramirez Rosa.
Aye.
Alderman Villegas. Alderman Villegas. Alderman Mitz.
Aye.
Alderman Sposato.
Aye.
Alderman Nugent.
Yes.
Alderman Vasquez.
Aye.
Alderman Napolitano.
Aye.
Alderman Riley.
Aye.
Alderman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Tunney.
Aye.
Alderman Gardner.
Aye.
Alderman Kappelman.
Aye.
Alderman Martin.
Aye.
Alderman Osterman.
Aye.
Alderman Haddon.
Aye.
Alderman Silverstein.
Aye.
Alderman O'Shea. Alderman Villegas.
Aye.
Your Honor, there are 48 yeas, no nays.
With 48 yeas, the matters in the omnibus are passed. Alderman Daley Thompson on the motion for reconsideration.
Thank you, Madam President. Motion to reconsider the last vote?
All those in favor of the motion for reconsideration signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no.
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 Oh.
No.
Motion fails. Before we adjourn, I do want to note one thing. As you know, in the virtual environment in which we are operating, we are endeavoring not to have committee meetings overlapping. So if there are matters of interest, the agendas for the committees are posted well in advance. Even if you're not on the committee, please avail yourself of the opportunity to participate, at least by Zoom, so that when it comes time to vote on a matter that you are not a part of a committee on, you'll be fully advised in the particulars to allow you to vote one way or the other. Thank you. Alderman Mitchell on the motion to adjourn.
Madam President, there being no further business before this body, I move that we adjourn.
Will the aldermen please make sure their microphones are unmuted? All those in favor of the motion to adjourn signify by saying aye.
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 If opposed, say no. The motion is carried. Council is adjourned.